Hi, I'm Jo Navarro. I'm a motivational wellness coach and the CEO and founder of Inpower Co. You are watching P3 on Rise Above TV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rise Above TV, where we are empowering humanity and supporting unity. You're watching P3, the place where we feature individuals who've tapped into their power, passion, and purpose. I'm your host, Janie Terrazas, and today we have Jo Navarro. She's a motivational wellness coach and the CEO and founder of Inpower Co. I can't say enough about this woman. She's out there being a mover and shaker. She's about mindfulness and the peace movement and being your best optimal self, which is what P3 is all about. I can't wait to hear what she has to say about power, passion, purpose. Let us welcome the lovely Jo Navarro.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Janie, for having me. I really appreciate coming on here. I'm truly honored to be part of P3.
Yes. Well, first, just very quickly, you have this huge conference that's coming up and it's all about living your best life. I've been asked to be a part of it. So I just want to say thank you for all the time, energy, and attention, your tea, I like to call it, all the tea that you're putting into bringing these experts from all around the country to provide a holistic manner in which we can look at our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual wellness. So I just wanted to say thank you for inviting me to be a part of that and for everything you're doing to put that together, because I know it takes a lot of energy.
Yes. No, it is truly something that I am passionate about, actually. Definitely have amazing speakers coming in. Alex Salomone from San Diego, Markia Robinson from Atlanta is coming in. Just a lot of people bringing together this sense of healing and growth and development that I think we so desperately need, especially after being cooped up, with the pandemic and with everything else. I think it's super, super, super important. And I couldn't be more excited about it. It's all about having individuals find their inner power and understanding that, if you love yourself, if you know yourself, if you really do the work and start your healing journey, then you have so much unlocked potential and power and love inside of you, and you can do anything you set your mind to.
I know just a little bit of your story, and people always think when they see someone like yourself who's very positive and optimistic and like it's like rainbows and flowers and stars. Yeah. And it's like, listen, like I'm here to also share with you the dark side of the healing journey, and that that's what's so amazing about people's stories is, and like why I love hearing about them and stuff, because when you hear about someone like yourself who is doing what you're doing and then comes from what you went through what you went through,
yeah,
then it's like, oh, if she can do it, I can do it. And that's what we're all in this for, is to help each other. So where do we start, girl? Like,
first let's start by grabbing a box of tissues.
Right? Wait, okay, I got it.
Yeah, okay. Right, yeah.
Barbara Walters moment.
Really though, no, my journey and my story is a roller coaster, to say the least. I have been through so much in my very short 30 years here on this planet, but I believe all of it was a lesson. I am originally from Mexico City. I have come from a very strong and beautiful Mexican family. Very proud of my roots, very proud of being Latina. Especially, being a Latina business owner now, like I feel that's super, super empowering as well. And growing up, it was a very different kind of thing. My mom, who I adore, who's my hero, I will say that until the world ends,
Yeah.
But also growing up with my dad, he was traveling everywhere. He worked for the Mexican government. He worked for the United Nations. I was in the political world for a little bit, which can also have its ups and downs. For sure. And then moving to this wonderful country when I was about 5 or 6 years old, was a huge culture shock. It was relearning almost all the things that I thought were like just normal or essential, or expected from people. And it was like people acted differently. The food was different, like everything, so it was definitely a whole thing for me at such a young age to move from one country to the next, all because my little brother who I call my sunshine, he has autism.
Mm.
So back in the day, they didn't have a lot of resources back in Mexico to help and therapies and stuff like that. So we ended up moving to this country to get him better medical attention and better help and better therapies so that he can grow and develop and heal, which is kind of what my journey has all been about with my life.
Your life made it such that you were forced into facing change, a lot of changes simultaneously, which starts to structure the brain for adaptability and malleability. Like if the body and the brain is resilient, it'll do that. But that's why we need to be so curious about it, because it'll adapt to the environment. And if your environment's really, really, really unsafe, that's where you kind of touch on trauma and things like that. And you talk about the inner child. For you, it sounds like you had some stability in your home. It sounds like you have a good relationship with your mom. However, there was still a lot of stress in different ways that you were faced with. And then when you made the move, it was like even language, like were you already speaking English and Spanish, or did you have to learn that also here?
So thankfully I was very blessed growing up to be living in a very well-off home. So I went to like a bilingual preschool. So I started learning English very, very, very early. And became bilingual very, very early, which is why some people are surprised that they see me now and they're like, "You're Latina, you're Mexicana, like you don't have an accent." And I was like, well, that's because, I started so young and now it's a very easy transition. Yeah.
And that's true, because you also mentioned the political aspect of what it is that your father did. And so some people, they forget that when you do grow up in those types of settings, even though maybe there's not scarcity, even abundance or being around that creates a lot of social, like, hey, it's about what you look like and how you're acting, a lot of like parameters of like external approval and things like that I'm sure at some point you were going to end up having to face. So it was like there's pros and cons, I guess, to all things is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that in itself was where I sort of started learning how to like mold my inner power, if you will, because my mom is a very strong, independent woman, and she's always been like my role model, my example. And my dad was very, very old school. So my parents are 33 years apart, if you can believe it. Wow. So yeah. So even just that age gap, it was one of those things that I was like, okay, so very different ways of thinking, very different ways of growing up, all the things. And so with my mom, she taught me to be strong, to voice my opinion, to never let anybody, like step all over me, and to step out of my comfort zone. And just a lot of who I am, really, I truly owe to her. But my dad was more of like, you speak when spoken to, or like you've got to use this sort of mannerisms in this sort of setting. And it's my dad, I say he's one of the most like intelligent people in the entire world. He knows so many languages. He's incredibly intelligent.
Yes.
But growing up in that sort of environment, he learned to act and react a certain way, where I wasn't okay with being like, I gotta hold my tongue. I can't say, like, not in anything disrespectful, I was just like, wait a minute, we're allowed to have ideas too. I was like, just because I'm young doesn't mean that it should have any less credit to what I have to say. Right. And so my mom was like, you speak your truth, love. Like you say whatever you want to say. And I was like, yes, mama. Like it was that kind of energy that at a very young age, my mom was just like, you say what you need to say. Like, you don't be small for anybody.
Never. And right.
Yeah.
Going back to the two extremes, that I always say to people, and I know you do the same thing, as you start to go through this personal growth process and you start to you reflect back at your life and patterns and things that, you were going through, you do start to see how some of the challenges play into your current medicine that you have to deliver for the people. And so the polarity and the duality that you're constantly having to reconcile and hold space for, oh my goodness gracious.
Girl, yes. Yeah, and it was honestly, but it was something that now that I see, it's like, okay, this is why I'm comfortable in all types of environments. Like back then it was like, wow, like I don't know how I handle this. It was like at a very young age, obviously. It's like how do you even, and so for me, as I continued to grow up, and like I think I went to five to seven different schools growing up, from like first grade to like graduation. So I was moved around. I would go from one school, then back to the other school that I was at, and then back to another school, and then just kidding, no, we're going to another school. And it was so much adaptability that I had to do growing up, and in different environments. And obviously the different side of towns that you would go to, you would have to adjust to even that, just the different kinds of communities that were there. So it really opened my eyes to saying like, wow, like the diversity in one city alone is just incredible, whereas in Mexico, where I was a lot more sheltered, it was like all I knew was this one world, this one side of the tracks, if you will.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so coming here, it was like, oh, okay, hold on. And I was that girl that was like friends with the theater, the choir, the jocks, the artists, the hippies, the like all the little cliques we had growing up. And I was just like, I'm friends with everybody. Like I click with everybody, because I was like, and everybody was like, oh, you talk to that. It was like, that thing that we kind of grew up in high school. And I was like, I never got that. I never knew why the cliques existed. I never understood why there had to be such difference. And I was like, wait a minute, that I could be friends whoever I want to be, like it shouldn't make a difference if you came from a wealthy family or a poor, like it doesn't matter to me.
And I think us being able to find unity within diversity is an extremely important like message right now, that really matters. That really matters.
Absolutely. And I think that with so much, just how much this country has divided in the last couple of years, I feel like we're slowly coming back together, but it really just breaks my heart, because I'm just like, do people truly understand that when we come together, when we leave all the, what I say, extra stuff on the side, like where you come from, what your beliefs, like at the end of the day, like whether you believe in God or whether you believe in Buddha or whatever, like whatever it is that you believe in, like God is love. At the center of almost all things is love, whether it's self-love, love, God is love. Buddha teaches inner peace and love and Zen. Like it's all these different things. And it's like at the foundation, we have these things that's like, be love, be kindness, be like, find those things within yourself, which is kind of how the name Inpower came to be, was, find the power within yourself. That way you can go and spread it out to everybody else.
Yes.
And that way, bringing people together, I think was the mission, or is the mission. It's saying like, man, like so many things can go wrong in life, so many things, but without those hardships, without, like all the things that can sort of slap us in the face, if you will, like we're not going to really cherish, or we're not going to be able to really feel the joy and the love and the kindness and the happy moments that we have. And whenever you meet somebody that's maybe not on your same lane, or on, like on the same way that you grew up or that you're used to being around, they're there to teach you something. They're there to open your eyes to something. And if you shut yourself off consistently to that, you're consistently shutting your own potential off from learning and expanding and growing and elevating yourself to a whole new level. So I learned that very, very, very early on.
When you were talking about expanding perspectives and opening our minds and being open to growing and evolving, I think that's one of them, is seeing how we can be mirrors and reflectors for each other, and realizing that all of us are here with a very specific set of challenges, and to be compassionately curious about why people think the way they do and behave the way they do and things like that. It will create just more connection. And I think that's one thing that you touch on a lot too. You really bring it back to the inside.
Finding that power, for me at least, was one of those things that was like this moment, like this epiphany of there's another way. Like there's another way. And it truly came after a very tragic time in my life, where at 16 I was taken advantage of. And I was roofied, and it was just a whole entire experience where I had flashbacks of like very few details, or like I didn't know the person. I can remember the person, but if you played me an audio tape of his voice, I could remember that in just an instant, so it was one of those things. And then shortly, like after that, after kind of losing myself and kind of feeling like almost like a secondhand like dirt rag, if you will, like that's how I kind of felt for a while. After that, I was like, wait a minute, like he took something from me. Like he just that innocence, or that sort of like, man, like I don't like, did he just change me? Did he just take my essence? Like it was this sort of, I don't understand what just happened. Like I woke up and I remember just kind of being bruised up and my head was hurting and I just felt sick to my stomach. And I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I need you to come pick me up. And she was like, you've only been there an hour. And I was like, Mom, I need you to come pick me up. I just don't feel good. And my mom, having her antenna, what I say, her mom instinct was like, are you okay? And I lied through my teeth. And I was like, yep, I'm fine. I just don't feel good. I've got this raging headache. Please come get me. Wow. And I, like, she tells me, she's like, I knew something was off with you. I didn't tell her until 2 years later. And I just buried it. And I was silent and I was scared because this man whispered in my ear and he said, if you say anything, I will find your mother and I will find your brother and they will join you. And I just was terrified. Like that, like just, it gives me just goosebumps just saying that. And, yes. And it was one of those things that I was like, I can't say anything. And I lived in this bubble of just fear and just consistent paranoia and trauma that I didn't even know what it was, how to fix it, how to do anything. I didn't open my mouth. I was just terrified. Wow. So for me to say, is like, I lost all that power, all my inner power that I thought that I had, that I thought that I knew. I was like, this is not, no. So I became, the goody two shoes. I became the silent girl in the back. I became, I was no longer sort of like what I call the Hermione Granger, where it's like, I know, and I'm trying to help everybody. And I went to being that girl in the back that like really nobody, would pay too much attention to, because I didn't want people to pay attention to me. I wanted to be small at that point, so everything that my mom had told me not to do growing up and that I had worked so hard to become and raise this vibration and raise this power within myself, all of a sudden just shut down. Yeah, done. It's gone. After that, in high school, I had so much grief that I encountered, not just the grief of like almost losing myself, because I feel like that's a type of grief that not a lot of people pay attention to. They're like, oh, that's grief. And I'm like, yeah, you losing a part of yourself, you going through trauma and not understanding, that's also a part of grief.
I love that you touch on that grief. Oh my God, it's so true. Yes. Yeah. The mourning and even as you go through transformation, that you have to really understand the 5 stages of grief, the 5 stages of death, we'll say. Yes. But anyway, go ahead.
Yes. And so after that moment, it was kind of like, I had friends that like got shot in a drive-by shooting outside a concert venue. And then I had friends that, one of my friends that I loved so dearly, she passed away from leukemia. And then someone that I was in a relationship with, he was older than me and he was in the military and he passed away. And so it was all these things just piled on. Like I couldn't like finish mourning this grief without another one coming in and being like, okay, let's start over. And it was just like a cycle after cycle after cycle that I couldn't. And it just went on and on and on and on. And I was like, how does this keep happening? How do I keep losing all these people that are in my life? How do all these people that are just so beautiful and amazing and have just so much light and love to honor, like just to offer the world, aren't like just like that, unexpectedly, they're no longer here.
Wow.
And so I first lost myself, and then when I had and was building, trying to relationships that would help me sort of climb out of it, they'd be gone. And so then right. So then after that, I started sort of saying, like, I'm just not going to attach myself to anybody. I'm just not, like, it hurts too much. I haven't healed it yet. This is I can't. And I got into that frame of mind of, I'm going to push them away. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to try to be a great friend and help as much, and still trying to keep that kindness and that sort of empathy alive without getting too close, because at that point it was just too much for me to heal, just to heal, to bear, and just to go through.
I really appreciate your candidness and just your vulnerability, and especially when it comes to sex trauma, it's kind of perplexing just how much loss back to back there was. And what's even more ironic was, like you said, they were your point, they were your I don't know if you want to call it your blanket or somebody that you could go
support
to.
System. Yeah.
Yes, your support system. So at this point, then I'm guessing you feel super alone. You're in this really dark space. You're like, WTF? What was like? Well, I mean, it was multiple things, I'm sure, but what ended up being the saving grace? What was the thing that you finally said, okay, enough is enough? And then what was that first thing that you kind of ventured into to help yourself?
Yeah. So when I was around, I think I was 17, going on 18, my friends and I were in this awful car accident where one of our friends actually passed. A car full of dancers, if you can imagine.
Okay.
And I grew up dancing too. That's the light in all of this. Dance is kind of my saving grace here.
So as a performer, that creative aspect was like art is like a release,
outlet.
An outlet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we were, graduation, yay, all the things, kind of happy. And we ended up being in this awful car accident, and one of our friends passes. And then I was dance captain at the time. And so everybody kind of turned to me, and I couldn't even turn to myself in that moment. I was just like, I remember calling off names, kind of just like making sure where roll call kind of thing,
Yeah.
And then I like, one of our friends didn't say her name. And I remember just screaming it, just kind of just like at the top of my lungs, and I didn't hear it. And I just knew, like, it was this feeling of like, okay. And I had a ruptured knee. I had broken my foot in 5 places. I was not in a state to like even get up. And it was that thing. I just started crying. I remember I was just like, not okay.
Here, dance was like your saving freaking grace for all this trauma that no one really knew you were dealing with. And now you're not going to be able to dance. And not only, but I mean, of course, and then you lost your friend. I mean, there's like that loss, but then on top of that, how are you going to deal with the loss? You can't even dance while you deal with your friend's loss. Like, oh my goodness.
Right. So then at that moment, it was like, okay, Jo, get it together. You have these people that are counting on you. Like, you don't have a choice. You no longer have a choice. We're in the middle of nowhere on the side of the highway. Like, we gotta figure something out. Everybody else was neurotic. Like, they couldn't keep it together. So somehow, somewhere, my brain just kind of was like, okay, like it just turned on.
Yep.
Like, this is what we're doing. Like, it was almost like my dance captain instinct, if you will. Like, that's kind of what I call it. Kind of kicked in. Like, okay, you go over there, you call 911, you can walk, you start, making sure that this is safe. Like, it's a car leak. Like, I just started kind of doing all these things. And then, like, fast forward months later, when I was actually able to like walk and like the cast was off and I was able to be in a studio again. I was in the studio by myself. I had gotten to class early. And I remember just being in an empty studio and just kind of breaking down completely. It was just here, like, just defeated, like, okay, and I just let it go. And I remember turning on some music because I had gotten way in advance on purpose. I was like, I just need this moment. I need to feel at home with myself again. Like I haven't felt that in such a long time, like for years and years. And I put this song on, and I just remember it was Frank Sinatra, because my grandpa, when I was little, he would put me on his feet and he would dance around the living room with me, and it was always that kind of what felt like home to me, you know, dancing with him. So I put on Frank Sinatra, and I remember just dancing kind of contemporary around, and like it was just such a freeing experience. And I was crying, and then I was mad, and then I was, you know, going through all the stages almost like over and over and over and repeat. And then it was just kind of like I looked up and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like, you're gonna be okay. It was like almost like reminding myself, like, you know, well, damn who you are. Just get back up. And in that moment, I was like, that's my superpower. That's it. I get back up. Like no matter how hard life hits, I get back up. It sucks. It's uncomfortable. I don't like it, but I get back up. And
like Rocky Balboa attitude, man.
Yeah.
It was like Mickey kicked in when you were in the dance studio. You know, your higher self turning to Mickey is like, look at the man, look who you are, remember who you are.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, exactly. And it was that moment that I was like, okay, here we go. And that's kind of where I started, you know, saying like, okay, who's really there for me, you know, and what friends are there for me, and really cherishing those, and almost like going to them in a way of saying like, hey, I'm sorry if I've been distant, I'm sorry if I've not been myself, because you didn't have to hold that space for me, you didn't have to do all those things, but you did, and I'm eternally grateful for you. But it wasn't fair for me to act out towards you. And I think that's something that a lot of people miss, is that you may not be responsible for the trauma that you endured, but you are responsible for healing it. You are responsible for your own emotions, for taking control of your own life. And that's where that power comes from, you know. And that's kind of where I was like, and I find that power in my purpose, which is, you know, helping people. And it was like when I help people, and it just isn't just when I dance, but it's like when I can help people feel something, when I can help people see something, when I can make them understand, like, you're not alone in this. Like life is too grand, life is too much of an adventure, and you have these things that, you know, joy and love that are so beautiful and that you should want to experience. That, you know, and I tell them, take it from me, I was, for years, for like a big space in my time, it was, I didn't want to experience any of those things. I didn't want to be joy, I didn't want to be love, I didn't want to be all those things. And I acted out, and like, and I know I talk about my mom a lot, but like, God bless her, because all the things that she put up, she was like, that's not my daughter, I don't know who this person is in front of me, because she didn't know, because I didn't tell her. And she was just like, I don't know what's going on with you, but something's going on and you need to fix it. And I was like, oh, like it was one of those moments, like, I need to fix it. Yes. You can't fix it because you don't know what's going on with, okay.
And you know, I love that you touch on that too, because I say this a lot, but authenticity comes through vulnerability and humility. And absolutely. And the more we live authentically, there's a freedom and a liberation that comes along with that, which ties back into peace. Your story is just incredible. It's like 5 Lifetime movies.
That's why I'm like, get the tissues out, just get them out, because
saga.
It's like, really though, yeah, I'm actually working on a book right now, which is, fun fact, side note,
That's really good, because that's what I was going to say. I mean, you have books in you. Those books can be made into like short films and movies.
Yeah.
Like everybody really is a book. Everybody really is a movie.
Yeah.
You know? And when you start to realize that you're the director, the screenwriter, the producer, the supporting characters, when you start to work on the illusion of separation and you start really understanding what oneness and unity means, I think that too allows us to tap into our power, passion, purpose. Would you agree? What do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, 100%. I feel that everybody has a story to tell, you know, and I feel even the people that are like, oh, I just wake up and I go to school and I don't, and I was like, okay, but why do you get up and go to school? And they're like, what?
Oh.
And I'm like, yeah, why do you, oh, well, because I want to be a doctor. Okay, why do you want to be a doctor? Because I like helping people. Okay, cool. Why do you like helping people? And I keep telling them, you know, I do my what I call my 5 or 7 whys.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh. And it's like, you're not living an average life. Like you might think like, oh, this is just my everyday. I get up, I go to work, or I go to school, and I'm just living this daily routine. But if you really figure out like, and you feel that passion of, I get to wake up and save lives today. I get to wake up and help somebody find, like if you're a realtor, I get to find somebody their dream home today. I get to help, you know, I get to help these people become the best versions of themselves in the best space that I can, because this is what I'm passionate about. This is what my purpose is, you know, and becoming a coach after, you know, being a dancer for so long, and then having that journey almost cut short a little bit when I had my daughter. It was that sort of career change / life change that I was like, okay, well, I can't be a ballroom dancer forever, like competitor or anything like that, because that just requires night in, like day out kind of thing, like just practice and work. And I have a baby to raise. I have to be a mom now. So it's like, what can I do that's going to set a good example, that's going to, you know, allow me to be when I need to be with her at all times. I don't want a cookie cutter job, if you will.
Sure.
I was like, I that's never really worked for me. What can I do? And it kind of was like, that was like a moment of introspection of like, okay, the life you thought you were going to have is no longer a thing. You've got to step up to the plate. Here we go again.
Stepping up to the plate.
Get back up. Yep. And okay, you're going to start your company. You're going to start your company. You're going to set an example. You're going to start a legacy for your daughter. And you're going to show her that you can do anything you set your mind to, and that it's going to be hard, that there's going to be challenges, but that is the path. Like people think, oh, there's so many obstacles in my path. No, baby, the obstacles are the path. Without the obstacles, you wouldn't be able to get to the other side, because you wouldn't be able to gain the strength and the courage and the knowledge and the growth to get to where you want to be. And the issue with that is, thank you. Like,
hallelujah, amen.
Right. And it's one of those things that I'm just like, guys, like, don't go around it. Do the work. Do the things you need to do. And that's how Inpower happened. And it's, you know, coaching people, helping them, and that's my passion. That is my purpose. And that's where I find my power every single day. And my daughter sees it. And right now she's 3. She acts just like me. And it's such a reflection of like, if I like stub my toe or something, she's like, are you okay, mommy? You're a tough cookie. You can do this. And I'm just like, you're motivating me. Like, you're taking care of me. And now you're motivating, and you're 3.
And this is where I love talking about like conscious parenting, mindful parenting, because, you know, monkey see, monkey do. There's this old saying in parenting, right? It's like, do as I say, not as I do. And it's like, yeah, but that's not how the brain works. And that's not how memory functions. And that's not how we shape our communication patterns and all these things. And so getting really curious about truly understanding how to nurture a little human being, you know what I mean? So that
Yeah.
their brain and their bodies and their perception of self and their relationship with self is really strong. And
Right.
that's how we create like a stronger civilization, right? I always say we're here to put the civil back in civilization. And the only
Yeah.
way to really do that is to return to the qualities that you were describing early on in this whole thing. You know, it's about how do we become a really good friend to ourselves, and when we
Yeah.
really understand how to love and take care of ourselves and be a friend, because we're trained and conditioned
Hmm.
to have a very masterful adversary,
Yeah.
the doubter and the critic and the judger, and
Yeah.
the one that you suck, and like sort of the villain, right? The villain, the bully within,
Right.
versus like the cheerleader. It's the little devil and the little angel, I always say,
Yeah.
whatever. So
Absolutely.
we get the free will, we have the power of choice to rise above our biological impulses, get really curious about our psychological wounds, and then do everything we can, like you said, to
Hmm.
transcend them, because it is our responsibility. And I think right now
Hmm.
it is that time. It's a time of responsibility and accountability. We need to care how we're showing up, not just for
Yes.
ourselves, but for our family, our friends, our coworkers, our communities, and everything else,
Yes.
because we feel so insignificant. We really do. But when you really study physics, and you realize, oh my
Mhm.
God, like my nervous, like when I'm at HEB, how I'm being is actually bleeding over into other people,
Yeah.
So anyway, you did such a beautiful job of just really just kind of connecting it all, and giving the story of how one kind of turned into another that birthed another. And what are
Hmm.
some of the self-care practices that you put into place just to kind of really maintain your well of water so that it's overflowing in the manner that it is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely do a lot of self-care. I have my morning routine, which is sacred to me. I wake up every single morning and I have a gratitude journal. It's a reminder of just finding gratitude in the little things. I try to write five to 10 different things that happened in the last 24 hours, and it kind of grounds me. Um, I do my yoga in the morning. I just try to it's with my body, right? Like at Empower, we talk about mental, physical, and relational wellness. And so every single day, I try to maintain those things for myself because to me, it's very important to practice what I preach. And so for me, it's definitely that. It's having going out in nature, going for walks, even my mini will be like, Mommy, can we go for a walk? Yes, always yes. We can. Let's go out in nature. Let's not be in the house. Let's not be in front of a computer all day long. Definitely, let's go. Also, just having time, just quiet time. I think there's so much beauty in stillness, and that's how you sort of find your inner peace of just like when she's in bed and when I have time, I'll either grab a book. I love reading. I'm such an avid reader. Whether it's an audiobook or just like a book that I can just like sit down with like a candle and just like some tea. I sound like I'm 80, but it just, it's something that brings me so much comfort and just so much peace that I can just kind of like sit in my little chair, and just kind of enjoy and just to kind of breathe through. And breath work is another one that, I definitely use every single day throughout my day. And just kind of knowing my own boundaries, I think is a huge practice of self-care that a lot of people take for granted, that I'm such an avid, like advertiser of, that it's okay to say no. It's okay to be like, sorry, not right. Like I need me time.
Mhm.
And it's not selfish. It's understanding that you can't pour into someone else's cup without having your own be full,
Mhm.
you know?
Yes.
So it's a mixture of that. It's also drinking a lot of water. That's pretty much all I drink. It's like water and tea. And then, just keeping a very healthy diet. How you feel your body, how you is how you heal your body, is what I like to say. If you move your
Ooh,
body and you're feeling your body, it's how you heal your body. Um,
love that. Yes.
so yeah, I definitely try to stay with like whole foods, definitely getting, even like my mini and having that quality time with her, and like the relationship aspect of like, hey, it's time to make food. You want to help me? You want to learn? And it's kind of teaching her early on, like, these are the things that you're going to carry through your life. And just that sort of sense of self of just like, I am at peace with my life. You know, if something feels off instantly, I'm like, okay, I need to take 5 minutes. Why does this feel off? Why does my body react the way that it does when X, Y, Z happens? You know, kind of like we were saying earlier.
I like that you said, you know, you're essentially what you're doing, and this is what we all need to do, because it's not just going to happen. You create your joy, you create comfort, you create peace, you create time and space for you to be just with yourself. And you also said stillness, and I'm right there with you. And there's so much power in stillness. I really love that you touched on a lot of different things that really come back to knowing how to create a life, like deliberately.
Yeah, no, and I always tell people, you know, I tell my clients that if you can like schedule in your calendar on your phone, like if it were a doctor's appointment, like you wouldn't miss, you know, your annual check, or you wouldn't miss, like if you're sick and you've gotten like you wouldn't miss going to the doctor because you need to get the medicine, right, to make you better. Okay, we'll implement gratitude, love, and joy into your day every single day of your life. If you do that, the natural medicines of life, which are, you know, the pillars that I try to live my life with, the 3 pillars that my company is founded on, gratitude, love, and joy. These are the things that if you implement into your life every single day, like your life is going to get so much better.
There's a science behind all of these things that we're talking about. This is something that we need to stop turning a blind eye to. So I really appreciate that you shine a light on these things. The other thing I think that we're all learning too is, what is love really? And you were talking earlier about at the core of life and all things, the energy at the core is really love. And I think the world has given us an idea of what love is, and all these conditions and this like fantasy-based love versus like the essence of the virtues that actually create the energy of it. And a big part of love is peace. So that's one of the rewards that we have. You've done a lot of work so that you can tap into your inner peace, and you're doing so much to help others understand how to live that path, you know, the path of peace. Is there any last little thing that you'd like to state?
Yes. So if anything, I believe that a lot of things in life, I will say, are hard. They're not going to be easy, but they're worth it at the end of the day. And we live in such a world of instant gratification, with Prime, with a microwave, with, you know, all these things, that we expect our life and our healing to be that way. It's like, oh, well, I meditated for 5 minutes. Why don't I feel better? Oh, because you have to meditate 5 minutes every day, months, to get to the next level, you know. And it's, be patient with yourself, show yourself grace, love yourself, because the realization that you have the power within yourself is one of the greatest human experiences that I think any of us can go through. Because if you can love yourself and find that love and that courage and that strength within you, you're not going to look for it in anybody else. You're not going to look for it in relationships or in friendships or in addictions or in anything else. You have it in you. So there's not going to be anything that you're going to need, you know, with that, because you have yourself. And once you do that, then when you feel like you're enough, like you have that power, you can take on the world, however that looks like for you. Because the thing is that if you put yourself in the enough, right? We do that a lot in like enough mindset. Nobody or anything will ever be enough if you don't deem yourself enough first. And so with that, I just want to say, you know, thank you so much for having me on here. You can find me on social media everywhere: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, at Inpower Jo. Or you could find my company as well, Inpower Co, with a CO at the end. And you could find us again on all social media platforms. The website too is www.inpower, again, inpoweronline.com. And I really do hope that if you are looking for beginning your wellness journey and starting that new chapter and just turning the page and saying, this is enough. I am enough and I want to be more, that you definitely join us, Janie and I, and so many amazing other speakers that are going to be there at Empower Your Life Wellness Conference this summer. Again, June 24th through the 26th. It's going to be in San Antonio, Texas. And we are super, super excited to help our community and to bring so much healing and growth to it as well.
Thank you again, Joanna, for being with us and just giving us some of your time and wisdom with us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you everyone for supporting the mindfulness movement here at Rise Above TV. Your likes, shares, and follows are greatly appreciated because they help spread the love. Subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channels for more mindful content. Tune in next week to meet another individual who's tapped into their power, passion, and purpose. Till next time, peace be in us.